Mic'd up.
Hello and welcome to Hoosier Weekly, an IU sports talk show hosted right here on Mic'd Up. My name is Gabe Jenkins, and joining me today is Campbell Manahan. How are we doing, Camp?
I'm doing great today. The weather is finally beautiful. We've been getting warmer this week, but it's been raining all week. It is sunny
Mhm.
outside, blue skies. I haven't seen the sun in a few days, so that feels great. It's been a good week of IU sports, or at least just an entertaining week where stuff has been going on,
Right.
and I'm just like excited to talk about it here with you today.
Yeah, so it's like the weather has been just so it's been kind of a chore to go through to classes, you know. It's not fun, it's not a good time, but today it's so nice. I mean, I had lunch outside today. I mean, when's the last time you said you could do that? But yeah,
Ooh.
terrific weather. And you know what else is terrific? The ending to the women's basketball season. It didn't end on the best terms, but man, what a roll they got on.
Yeah, I it was not a good season from IU. It is a disappointing season as a whole, but the positive outlook with an optimistic mindset is the fact that they did go 7-3 down the stretch if you include the two tournament games, 6-2 down the stretch if you don't include those. And that's really impressive because they lost their first 10 straight Big 10 games. They went 0 for 10 the start of the Big 10 season. Did not look like they were going to make the Big 10 tournament because only 14 out of the 18 teams in the conference will make the tournament. So it seemed like they were going to be in that bottom four. It was like them and Penn State both hadn't gotten a win yet, 10 games in. They get their first win finally, and they just get on a roll. They get going. Shea Shesky, I think, is just a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah,
Now, this
yeah,
is her last time ever playing in college basketball. She is a senior. She is done now with college athletics. But
right.
I mean, look for her in the WNBA. She was a very impressive scorer and specifically shooter
Hmm.
at that
Oh yeah,
two. She's a two guard. And I mean, the 50-40-90 shooting splits while also averaging 23. That's not
yeah,
something you see very often.
yeah.
Like at first look, you would think, oh, she's just scoring a lot because somebody has to on this terrible team. Like
Right.
somebody has to score. That's not what it is. She's making most of the shots she shoots. Very
Yeah.
impressive season from her.
I mean, totally. If you take the look you were just talking about of this team is so bad that somebody has to be the one scoring, you would expect that shooting percentage to be much lower than the 50-40-90 that you were just talking about. But she is at not just 50-40-90, she's at 53-45 and 90, which is when you're talking in major statistics, that's a major gap. It is
Yeah,
such a big gap in between those numbers when you're talking about numbers in the hundreds. And also, she's not the only one that had just a great season. You know, it's Lene Beaumont. Struggled
Beaumont.
with that
Yeah,
name earlier, but we got it down. Lene Beaumont.
those
She had a great season too, but she also made the announcement that IU women's will not be playing in the NIT after the season.
yeah, which I think is fair. These players they came to this team with the mindset that this year would be a year where they make the March Madness tournament, and so it it's a disappointing season as a whole. There's we've been talking about that. There's positives to look at. And I think that is why Terry Morin did enough in the back half of the season to keep her job. I think she was like quite red hot on the hot seat at that 0-10 start in the Big Ten. That's just not an acceptable thing to do. But the way she finished the year, I think she will be retaining that position as head coach. And yeah, players like Lene Beaumont, she's a sophomore, and so now she's going to be looking to be a little bit of a leader on the team. Hoosiers also currently have, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the number two recruiting class coming in
Yes.
this next year,
Yeah.
including they might they are like in the top three for landing the number two or number one. I forget what if she's number two or number one total commit. I think she's a foreign prospect, and
Hmm.
if they land her, the class will probably get boosted up to number one, and the Hoosiers are looking at a very bright future.
Yeah, so the recruiting class, oh my goodness, the recruiting class that you just brought up it's absolutely huge for IU women's basketball coming in the future because this team it's not where you want it to be. So that's what you expect to make the change at is in the draft or in the recruiting class, and they are bringing in Gigi Battle. Zoe Jackson, Ashlyn James, Addie Niemczek, and possibly that next recruit you were talking about. Now, you don't know those names now, but coming soon, you might know those names because they might be the future of a very important program to IU.
Yeah, I mean, totally, absolutely. They could be just the future is extremely exciting for this IU women's team with the recruiting class. You're retaining most of the roster. Now you have to the challenge will be replacing the void that is Shea Shesky next year,
Right.
where the fact that she averaged 23 points and was basically the only player. Like there were certain games where she was the only reason they were competitive in those games, and you're gonna have to find a way to replace her, which is not an easy task at all. And I don't think it will be replacing her as in like adding a different 23-point per game score. It will be just other players have to step up and just
Hmm.
you need more guys that are averaging 15, 15, 12, 10 points like that. Because you need to, I mean, as a team, you're going to need to be averaging total around like 85 points to be a successful team. And so you got to find those points from somewhere else, kind of moneyball this situation in a way.
Right.
And just, I think the exciting thing is also like, I think IU did enough in the back half of the year to also uh, be attractive towards certain transfer portal
Hmm. Yeah.
players, which I'm not going to act like I know enough about women's college basketball and who's
Right.
going to be entering the portal and who's out
Yeah.
there to go get. But I'm going to trust Terry Morton to find some players that are going to be good for the future.
Yeah, I mean, the transfer portal is so huge because of seniors going away or people that are transferring out because of the seniors going away or the coaching changes. And I think that's why it's such a great idea to keep the coach around. The recruiting class you just got gets to stay because of the of not firing a coach. She's a good coach. Like
Hmm.
I don't think I don't think this season is completely reminiscent of her as a coach. I think sometimes it's just the cards you're dealt and the schedule you're dealt, and sometimes you just can't. But right at the end, she showed off with her coaching abilities. I mean, the number 12 seed Nebraska IU comes in and they go down huge. There is one lead change in this entire game, and it comes in the last minute of the fourth quarter for IU to take back the lead after a 20-point deficit to mark the largest comeback in IU women's basketball program history.
Yeah, I an absolutely incredible feat. I believe it was 18 at halftime and then got up to 20. And I saw several like clips of because they had a camera in there for the halftime speech. Terry Morin was just super calm, wasn't like getting mad at the players because she took the approach of there's no reason to get mad at the players. They know they're playing poorly. Like it's
Right.
the players know that this game's going poorly. They're not dumb. She took the approach of it's one possession at a time. We got to rebound better. We got to be more physical. We got to start hitting some more shots. It's just one possession at a time, chip away at the lead. And man, did they chip away at that lead and finally
Yeah.
get in the
Yeah.
last minute one of the most impressive comebacks you're going to see in a tournament game. And just it creates more excitement around the program. Unfortunately, the season has come to an end, but
Right.
it's an exciting thing that you can just be a little bit happy about despite the blowout at loss to Ohio State the next game.
Yeah, and that loss was a pretty devastating one. They were down 12 at halftime to Ohio State, and then it was 16, and then it was 20, and then
Yeah.
it ends at 24-point loss. It was a not great look for
Well,
the ending of a team.
yeah, and I watched that game from my perspective. The problem here is IU only has a 12 or sorry, not 12, a six-man rotation.
Right.
They play six girls, and that's it. They have no
Yep.
depth on that roster. Ohio State full court pressed them the entire time, and Ohio State didn't have to play the day before either. So Ohio State gets a
Hmm.
bye, then is well rested. Full court presses IU, so IU is already tired
Yeah.
going into the game, and then just gets absurdly tired throughout the game. I think they had the lead in the first quarter. It like they played really well extremely early in the game, but eventually the legs gave out and Ohio State was able to get a lot of momentum. And Ohio State's a really good team. They are number 12, I believe, in the
Yeah.
nation. I believe is what their rank was. But they are a tournament team, a top 3 or 4 seed in the tournament. And so that it's a disappointing ending. but it's not a team that you're going to be like upset that you lost to.
Right. They were definitely the better team and definitely expected to be the winner of that game. But it is still disappointing to come off such a great high, winning the game against Nebraska to fall like that to Ohio State. But it was still expected, and it's kind of just an unfortunate design of tournaments that the lowest seeds go on to play the highest seeds and stuff like that, which it makes sense, but it's unfortunate for when you do get that upset to have to play then again another hard team. You can't keep that rolling. But then again, it does create electric stories when that does continue past the one round. It is absolutely electric.
Yeah, I mean that's the reason you have Cinderella stories in March is because these underdogs that come from nowhere, and it's a fun thing that can happen, but it's also quite rare. Winning a game in the tournament is the most this IU women's team could achieve, and they went out there and they did that. I think they can overall, because of the way they ended the season, they can hold their heads up a little bit high and be proud of the resilience they showed the season. I mean, they're not going to be proud of the season as a whole because it was a really bad, like,
Yeah.
just terrible start to the season, all the way through the first 10 games of Big Ten play. But they can, in the last total 10 games of the season, as I said, they went 7-3 in those 10 games, and they can just hold their heads a little higher from that.
Yeah, and I remember early on in the season, the IU was the last school remaining with three undefeated teams: IU football, IU men's basketball, and IU women's basketball. And then women's basketball slowly started to taper off, and then men's basketball slowly started to taper off. Luckily, IU football did not, so
They did
get to
not.
hang our hats on that. And that's probably just it's probably just about all we can say for women's basketball here, but we can look forward to men's basketball, who has one last game with Ohio State before the Big Ten tournament, and then they have to make this gigantic push if they want to be playing in the March Madness tournament rather than the NIT if they choose to stay.
Yeah, and I mean, the story of the season has been just a complete roller coaster. I feel like when IU loses, they lose 4 games in a row, and that when they win 4 games in a row. There's no like they're never just like we win, then we lose, we win, then we lose. They're like a 500 team that just wins in bunches and then loses in bunches, and they're just all over the place throughout the whole year. Now, you're hoping what that means is because they just finally got a win with the big win against Minnesota on senior night, that maybe that can spark something. But we do have to go into, we haven't talked about yet, the somewhat disastrous showing against Michigan State, but not fully.
Mm,
Michigan State is a better team. Like they are a
yeah,
very good team. They're probably going to be a 2 seed in March with the way they've been playing as of late, and they are a great rebounding team, which is something IU's always going to struggle with in
yeah,
this iteration of IU at least. And just overall, this is a kind of a team that if you would design a roster to beat IU, Michigan State's a pretty good example of that roster to be able to take down IU, where Michigan State doesn't win games typically from like 3-point shooting like IU has to. They win on the inside. But what happened in this game is they did win from outside shooting. Michigan State shot 12 for 24 from three, which is just not something they do often.
yeah.
So it really hurts IU's chances to be able to compete in that game.
Yeah, this game kind of felt like a must win to absolutely secure a spot.
Yeah,
Uh,
totally.
and it did not go well for IU. It felt like they were down the whole game. It just kind of it didn't feel like they were matched up to play this team. But it's then they come across to Minnesota and they're able to get a good, motivating win there. That's a great team for IU to play. If we switch to what you said around, it's the team that you would design to have IU play.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like Minnesota was running a zone for most of that game, and
yeah,
IU is really good at breaking zones, and so that was such a great matchup for them to be able to play to their strengths, get some chemistry going for this next couple games that they hope to play. I can't guarantee much past the first round of Big Ten tournament, but Ohio State and the first round of Big Ten tournament, this is huge to go into those next games.
Yeah, I have no actual research on saying this, but I'm just gonna go out and say it. IU might be the worst team to play zone against. Like they are designed just to kill a zone because they just have perimeter shooting everywhere, and they
Mm,
also have decent enough passing big men. Like I would say
mhm.
Sam Alexis and DeVries, who they use as a big man. It isn't necessarily a big man, but they use him as a
Right,
power forward basically, just because
because
the
they
way the
have to.
team's designed. Yeah,
Yeah.
he is a great passer at that position, and and how you beat a zone is and this is what IU did pretty much every play in the first half of the game was they would pass to DeVries right at the elbow. Defense would come crashing in on him. There would be either an open 3-point shooter at the wing, or Sam Alexis would have a great one-on-one matchup in the post. DeVries, great passer, makes the right decision almost every time, finds Sam Alexis or finds the open shooter, and is just able to get it into him. Sam
Yeah.
Alexis, 17 points in the first half. The Minnesota made adjustments in the second half, which was way too little too late because the second half still went about the same. But
Yeah.
it did stop Sam Alexis at least in the second half. It didn't stop
Yeah.
Lamar Wilkerson, for example, but it did stop Sam Alexis in the second half. But 17 points in the first half for Sam Alexis,
You're right.
just absolutely a dominant performance. And I think it proves if IU can face a team that is equal or smaller than them, they're
Mhm.
not going to have any trouble because they've been playing all these teams that are larger than them all year. They quite enjoy playing a team of this size.
Yeah. So it's like Minnesota being smaller than them helps them to kind of just like show what their technique and talent is, because their technique and talent can only go so far when you've got guys that are a foot taller than you guarding
Mhm.
you, and who knows, even with wingspan, how much further that goes with people that are bigger than you. But also, when you're wanting to crash a zone, it takes so much chemistry and understanding of what players are better at, what their matchups are like, for you to be able to break a zone defense in basketball. And it really just shows how much this team has grown together,
Yeah.
been integrated, and understands, hey, when Sam Alexis has this type of build on him, he is going to be able to break that defense down and score points. Or if these people crash in on Tucker, do we trust Tucker to be able to get that ball passed out before he's pinched? And as that gets answered in a game, you guys grow connected together. Your decision making becomes so much tighter, and you understand the game a lot better.
Yeah, and the thing we didn't even shout out either is also another reason this game went so well. Connor Enright, sure, he only had 4 points in the game, but he's also kind of sort of a player designed
Mm,
to want to play a zone defense or at least just any type of tricky defense because Connor Enright is a elite playmaker and he felt comfortable in this game. He had 8 assists, 0 turnovers, which is a very impressive thing to do, and just felt fully comfortable in the role of initiating the offense at the point of attack against this zone. Just the whole game, the team felt like they watched a lot of film, and I have to give a lot of credit to Coach DeVries on that. They clearly watched film in this Minnesota zone and knew exactly what they were going to do against it, which is something they had not seen earlier. Minnesota did not play zone in the
hmm
upset earlier this season in Minnesota. They ran man to man that game and had a lot more success, which is why I thought coming into the second half, I thought, hey, Minnesota's going to get out of this zone. They changed up the zone a little bit, but they didn't get out of it. They
mm,
just were a little bit uh, more aggressive down into the paint on Sam Alexis specifically. But yeah, they didn't make the adjustment to man coverage ever. I guess they just felt like there was no shot they were going to match up well.
yeah.
They also just dug themselves into too big of a hole at one point. And another thing that went pretty poorly, and I don't even know if this might just been a little bit of an outlier, and IU might have gotten a little bit lucky. Minnesota shot it really terribly. There was some good
hmm
looks that Minnesota did miss in this game. They shot at 5 for 21 from three, which is, and they are a team that relies pretty heavily on a good amount of outside shooting. That just did not show up for them. Well, meanwhile, IU made 10 3-pointers, which is pretty normal for IU,
Yeah.
but that is something that, you know, five 5 3 points versus 10 is a big gap, and that is just a huge reason why IU also won this game.
Yeah, and something else we should talk about before we move on to something else is the crowd at Assembly Hall
Mhm.
playing a factor. So
Yeah.
Michigan State, the crowd got pretty upset from what I've seen
Mhm.
around,
Yeah.
and they were not very happy with the way the team was playing. Specifically, if we want to get into specifics here, when Reed
Let's do
Bailey
it.
came into the
Yeah.
game, there was a lot of, as I've been told by the people in the stands,
Yeah.
griping, not booing.
Yeah. And
But
that's why I would like to come out. I was a person in the student section. It was not boos, or at least
yeah,
I never once did a boo. Did
yeah,
I go? Uh, yes, I did. And so
right.
did the rest of the crowd. And you know what? Sorry, we should not have done that. That is not a supportive atmosphere for the crowd, but it was not booing. And during the second game, that the Minnesota game,
Mhm.
it was all cheers, support for Reed Bailey. It really felt like it was specifically Reed Bailey, but it was also just all the players. Every time a sub came in, we cheered them on, no matter who it was. Like we
Mm,
cheered Josiah Miles on. It was senior night. There's no real reason to cheer Josiah Miles on, but we
yeah,
did. He just plays cardio. Like he doesn't really do all that much for the team, but he's a cardio guy. But
yeah,
he came in and we would cheer him on. It there's nothing we didn't cheer on, and it felt like the team did like feel that energy. The crowd was not full. It was probably an 80% crowd versus the Michigan State crowd was a full crowd. Like that was a
mhm,
full house, but it was not a very supportive full crowd.
right,
Wow,
yeah,
the Minnesota
and that,
one was. And I thought I just felt like that did matter, especially early on in the game. Later
yeah,
on,
and when
it was a blowout anyway, so it didn't matter as much. But early
yeah,
on
when
it
you have a
mattered.
full crowd that gets rowdy like that, it's different from a small group of people that go, "Oh man," is it gets fully echoed, and everyone understands what that noise means, what the
Yeah.
collective is coming out of a crowd. Now, when it gets so many people like that, it does turn into kind of a ooh sound, which isn't quite the ugh that was coming out of people's voices. It turns into that boo sound, and then it can be very detrimental to a team's morale, especially if it's your home team crowd doing that to yourself. And it definitely a different crowd environment for Minnesota.
Hmm.
Probably is a lot less pressure for this team. It helps you kind of just like breathe and be slower because you're not getting booed by the people that paid tickets to come see you play. And also, Reed Bailey had a better game with Minnesota. He had
Hmm.
a highlight pass to end the first half that was really good. It's probably one of the best plays I've seen out of Reed Bailey, outside of maybe a couple cool shots.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. No, he felt more comfortable. I think I mean, he's not the reason they won this game. He played 12 minutes. It's not like he's the reason, but he wasn't an outlier in terms of terribleness in this game. He was probably just a net neutral player, which is fine. That's
yeah,
really the hope is for really the hope for any bench players is that they're going to come in and be a net neutral.
right,
Elite teams are getting their bench players to come in and be positive, but like a team on the bubble like IU is just hoping that these guys can come in. They're not going to start losing because he came in. And that's what happened this game. He came in, they weren't losing immediately. Trent Sisley, I thought, did about the same thing as Reed Bailey in that scenario where he also came in, played 10 somewhat valuable minutes because these guys these starters are all playing 27 or more minutes and they need a little bit of rest, especially with the tournament stretch that they're about to get into. They just where you're going to be playing in the Big Ten tournament, you're playing a game a day if you
yeah,
keep going on, and that's just a tiring thing. You need your bench to be able to take some valuable minutes so that you can just rest ever, which is something
right,
IU women's found out when they tried to play everyone 40 minutes a game. That just it doesn't work.
yeah,
The men aren't quite trying to do that, but they're trying to get like I mean here I'll read it off. It's 12 minutes from Bailey, 10 from Sisley, 8 from Connerway, and 9 from Josiah Miles. It is a 9-man rotation. It's not. It feels more like a 7 or an 8 because they're not playing like 15 to 20. They're only playing 10 at most, but
yeah.
it does give you a little bit of bench depth, which is something they need desperately.
Yeah, and it kind of seems like we're talking about struggle, struggle, struggle from this men's basketball team. But something that is not struggling at all here at IU so far is softball.
Mm,
Softball is absolutely dominating so far at the start of this season. Right now, they are 16-4 before the start of conference play, and they're about to go into a stretch against Minnesota, who is what was their
Yeah,
non
Minnesota is a 7-13, and
yeah.
so I'm going to call it out. I'm going to expect a sweep. I think that's fair to assume with the way the softball team's been rolling right now.
Yeah, yeah, and the softball team has absolutely been terrific. I mean, the highest ERA for a pitcher right now is 3.5. There's only one pitcher that has recorded losses. The, the rest of them are 2 wins or higher. Most
Wow.
there it's these this softball team is really well glued together. Their batting averages are insane.
It
Granted, again, no Big Ten matchups yet,
Sure.
but still, this is a resume that you want out of a non-conference start.
Yeah, they're 16-4, which is just a wildly impressive record. They In those 20 games, the numbers they're putting up are numbers that are video game numbers is what I'm going to call them because they seem
Yeah.
not they are unsustainable. Like I'm going to call it out. Allie Van Brandt, elite player. No
Mhm.
shot she keeps these numbers up throughout the whole year because it's video game numbers as I'm saying. Let me
Let's
just
talk
read this
about it.
out real quick.
Let's talk about it.
She is averaging 5.22. She has an OPS of 1.612. She has 67 total at bats, in which she has 35 hits and 30 runs. She has 8 doubles, 4 triples, and 6 home runs. She's also 14 for 14 in stolen base attempts, which is wildly impressive because it's harder to get stolen bases when you don't
Yes, it
don't get
is.
leadoffs in softball. If you're not a softball watcher, you don't get that. She also has 27 RBIs. She is slugging 1.03. This is just not numbers that you see. And she pretty much leads the team in almost all of these categories. Almost
And
all.
it's something I didn't hear you say is she's walked 10 times.
Walked 10 times.
What? I mean, she is absolutely a leader on this team in every batting stat. It's she is terrific in the bat, but also in the field. She's got uh, 30 30 plays made on 36 attempts, and it's a good number.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
she's also the everything fielder for them. She's in that utility spot, which is a
mhm,
term that you use a lot in baseball or softball. It just basically means you're an infielder most of the time who just can move around to almost any position. You can also play outfield if you need to. You're just a person who's very versatile and can play almost any field position.
yeah, it's this team is really uh, well put together. It's kind of the
It's
opposite
insane.
of the baseball talk. I mean, we can talk about Avery Parker as a
Yeah.
451 batting average. Uh, Cassidy Kettleman has a 425. Alex Cooper has a 400. Going down to the next starter of 20 all 20 games, Ellie Goins has 365 batting average. Josie Bird is 333. I mean, these are great numbers.
It's insane what these numbers are, is just the way to put it. And all of them have OPS, or almost all of them have OPSs over one, also, which is on base plus slugging. It's just an absurd amount of hitting, like what's the uh productivity from the
Yeah,
from the
yeah,
hitting, and it just they don't miss. Like I don't know what to say. It's just insane so far. I don't understand how these numbers they got 4 losses.
right. It's going to be a matter of sustaining their hitting power to get those extra base hits, and also like averaging 500. That's not going to continue through a whole season. That's just
Yeah.
unreasonable to expect. But keeping these numbers at the 300 to 400 level would make this team absolutely incredible. Let alone if they're 200 to 300. I feel like this team could still be really, really good.
Oh, I mean, absolutely. And Big Ten play is starting. I'm expecting that they go out there and get a sweep of the Minnesota Gophers and just keep this train rolling. That would put them at 19-4. I just a very exciting season where I think you're definitely expecting this softball team this year to be a top what, 3 team in the Big Ten at minimum is the
Yeah.
expectation at bare minimum and probably competing for that Big Ten title.
Yeah, and the Minnesota series is in Bloomington. Then they play Loyola and a Rutgers series also in Bloomington. So a good strong home start here for the softball team. It's going to help them so much to be at home, get their feels out in the Big Ten play, and just get playing. This team just needs to get on the wheels and start playing so they can get even more wins out there.
I mean, absolutely. It is a very exciting time to be an IU softball fan, and I mean, Gabe, we got to get to a game as soon as we can. Maybe we got to get to one of these games this weekend. I mean, this is
Oh
just a
yeah.
fun, exciting time right
Oh,
now.
I mean, get to the games this weekend when the weather is like this. You don't have to do much
I,
to convince me.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this softball has absolutely done a terrific job at the start of the season. And as we're going to switch over to baseball now,
Hmm.
baseball has not quite had the same start. Now they have also played a higher quality of non-conference opponent than
Totally.
softball started with, but it is also it's kind of getting to a point where it's starting to get rough for baseball.
Yeah.
They split the series with Western Kentucky,
Hmm.
which isn't terrific for them.
Yeah. So since the last time we talked, or since the last time we talked about them, they went 2-2 in that series against Western Kentucky. 5-7 record now. The scores of these Western Kentucky games, I'll just shout them out. First game they lost 1-4. Second game they win 3-1. So they kind of flipped that one. Uh, Game three is the disappointing one where they lose 12-14. You should not lose a game when you score 12. And
Never.
then they win 7-3 in the closer. So they went back and forth the whole series. Western Kentucky is a very good non-power 4 team. They had a very good season last year. Still not a team you should be splitting with. You should have, and I think it goes back to that game 3 where you score 12 and gave up 14. You should have gone 3-1. You should have won that game and go 3-1 in this series.
Yeah, and we talked about the pitching stats last time. It kind of feels like the pitching stats have only gotten worse. Uh,
Yeah, and
yeah,
well, I would just like to shout out it last time we talked about it being the bullpen.
yeah,
There was three games of the series they actually pitched pretty well, allowing about like 2 runs per game, which is actually quite solid. It's
right.
this game 3 where they just got massacred. 4 runs in the first inning to start the game. It
Yeah,
was not just the bullpen in this
yeah,
game. Also, 3 total errors in this game. Wow. Or sorry, never mind. I read that wrong. Western Kentucky had 3 errors. Sorry, my bad. Um, just read that wrong. But just they gave up 4 runs, then a run in the second, 2 runs in the third, 3 in the fourth, 2 in the fifth. Finally got to the 6th inning and they didn't give up a run. And then they gave up 2 more in the 7th, which are that's the 2 that loses it right there. And
right.
just I mean, yeah, you went 5 innings of not getting a single 0 in the box score. That's just terrible.
It's such a bad look. On the other hand, with hitting, they're still doing all right with hitting. They aren't doing awful. They're in the 300 level, which is it's probably where their numbers are going to stay, unless they go on an absolutely cold streak or an absolutely hot streak. Their numbers will probably stay in the upper 200s, lower 300s. Other than Braden Ricketts, who's at 381 batting average right now, he's doing a great job. Slugging is 595 for him. I mean, on base, he's got 490 with 7 walks, and I mean, he's got a great batting stat line right there. It's kind of when you give up so many runs like they did, it's hard to win those games. And while it is kind of while it is on not scoring enough for some of those games. It's also giving up too much. It's give and take. They aren't on at the right times for their pitching to give up the runs they give up, and they're not on enough for or the pitching's not. What's the vice versa of what I just said? I forgot which order I said it.
I do not fully know.
Yeah. All right.
Uh
Well,
we could scratch move on from
scratch it.
that.
We're gone. Get out of there. All
That
right.
thought's gone.
Yeah. No more
Um
thinking like that.
yeah. No, but yeah, just overall, the hitting has been about average. The pitching has been subpar. They need to step it up. But I do think to think on the bright side, they have a great opportunity here with this home series against Washington, who's
Yeah,
3-9 in the year, and I'm just gonna say it has been bad. They started the year
yeah,
losing a game against number 17, but they lost 0-13 to NC State. They got mercy ruled. Then they lose to number 21 Wake Forest, but they lose 0-5 again, once again not scoring. And then they face an unranked Boston College and lose 0-10. They struggle to hit. Now they've played ever so slightly better as of late, but they have not been good all year. They are on a 2-game win streak, so that's why I'm saying they played slightly better as of late. But I
yeah.
think that also maybe you shout out is San Diego State, just a pretty bad opponent who they were able to get 2 games off of. I kind of feel like that is true. I think it's a great opportunity for IU to go with 3-game sweep, and you go with 3-game sweep. I mean, you're gonna be a winning team all of a sudden. You'd be 3-0 to start the Big Ten play, which
Mm.
is really important, and also just you'd be 8-7, and you'd finally have a winning record and get to feel a little bit better the season.
Yeah, the Washington at home is going to be a huge win, hopeful win streak right there. Add Wright State on top of it, and then they make the Oregon trip. They'll have
Oh,
to be good for that, and then after that, Vanderbilt's got a great uh, they aren't ranked, but they are a good baseball program. So that's going to be tough. And I don't want to look too far ahead past that. But this schedule isn't um, a bunch of nobodies. Like there's going to be good teams that they have to play, and they're going to have to be able to lock in for those plays for those teams that they have to play.
oh yeah, I mean absolutely, and it's not going to be easy for IU. They need to just improve. We've talked about a good amount, I think, already about how they are a young team, but they need to start improving quick here. And I think now is the moment at home. You're going to get a decent crowd 'cause it's a good weekend and it's the home opener or home Big Ten opener. They've had a home game before, but you're going to get a pretty solid crowd, I think. And you got to use that. You got to use the advantage of batting second, and you got to go get 3 wins against these Washington Huskies.
Yeah, and I think that probably is about as much as we can say about baseball. So something else that's really going great for IU that you're probably more expert to talk on than I am is swim and dive is going pretty good right now for I think both men and women's. They're going
Absolutely.
they're going nuts out there. Tell us a little more.
I mean, the men are looking to claim IU's second national title of this calendar year with being ranked number 2. NCAAs are coming up starting March 25th, and I think it's a 3 or 4 day meet with prelims and finals and the whole thing. But just the men are really exciting. They finished first in the Big Ten. So did the women, who are ranked number 7. They don't really have like in swimming's not one of those sports where as ranked number 7 in most sports you're like, oh, so we have an outsider shot to totally go win this thing if we just get hot. Swimming, it's a lot less likely. You can probably climb 1 or 2 spots and finish like 5th in the nation. You're probably not going to be capable of actually making the massive leap and climbing up 6 spots. It's just not a thing you see in the sport. Upsets are like a true upset would be like the number 4 team in the nation beating the number 1 team in the nation. That is an upset in swimming. So it's just a different sport from what most other sports are. But the men are right there with number 1 Texas in terms of just production all season long. They've been winning. They've been winning all the invites they're in. They have a lot of medals in those Big Ten championships the 2 weekends ago that they're going to look to carry into uh, NCAAs, looking to at minimum finish second. You're hoping for the number 1 finish, and you're also just hoping while it's a team sport, it's also an individual sport where you do get a shout out the success of these individuals. You're hoping for a lot of gold medals at this event. Like that is truly what you are hoping for, and I think IU is going to be pretty happy with the results of this meet. I hope.
Yeah, and they they should they should give it their all. I mean, you've got a chance to do something incredible. I mean, you said it, and I wasn't even thinking about it. Second national championship of the calendar year with
Yeah,
football going all the way. That would be a pretty cool start to the year. I mean, we're
yeah,
only 3 months in. Would be pretty nice.
yeah. I mean, obviously we're a football and swimming school. Like that's what we are.
Yeah,
known
that's what we're
for
known
here
for.
at IU, and we
Yeah,
advertise that. Like, I mean, I think when you go on the IU website, it says like football and swimming school. Like that is the thing it says, and so you're like football. We weren't even that happy that we won the Natty because that's just the expectation of this
yeah,
school, and that's the
right, for
expectation of the
sure.
swimming program as well. And so you're hoping to finish that off and win it all.
Yeah, and another swimming sport that IU has that has been doing pretty well is women's water polo. Now,
Yeah.
this past weekend, they went to Los Angeles, California, where
Mm,
they dropped two straight games
yeah.
against number two UCLA and number three USC.
Tough.
Both games they were not close. They lost to UCLA 7-18 and USC 6-16,
Okay.
which is not a great. It's not
Yeah.
great losses, but also. Um, these are really, really good teams at water
Oh,
polo. I mean,
totally.
typically West Coast and East Coast are really good at the water sports like rowing and swimming and that sort of type of competition. And
Totally.
It's no different for water polo. Uh, the LA teams are really consistently great at water polo. And you know what? IU put up 6 and 7 in both of those games. So they are capable of scoring against great teams. And you know what? They're moving on to Princeton. They're moving on to Long
Okay.
Beach State and UC San Diego coming up at the Aztec Invite held in San Diego. Could be a great stretch of 4 wins there for them. They might drop one to Princeton, but they could easily go 4 for 4 here in this upcoming weekend.
I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, that's huge, and I mean, it's tough as you were. I mean, you made it pretty clear, but it's really hard to beat those West Coast teams in water polo. That they just kind of dominate. Is Cal, if I'm not mistaken, Cal is number one
yeah,
also. So
yeah,
you have three California teams in the top three, and so like
yeah.
the sport is dominated by California. A little bit of a little bit of a small Indiana school trying to take over water polo. Wasn't fully successful, but also, I mean, it's tough to travel to the West Coast anyways in any sport and win. So the fact that they had to go there also just hurts their chances as a whole. And just you'll probably get maybe another crack at it in a Big Ten tournament scenario. You're hoping that you can just keep the season rolling. And overall, I think it's probably going to be one of the best seasons IU Water Polo's ever seen. So you're just going to be happy with the season no matter how it ends. I think at this point they've put themselves in that spot.
Yeah, so IU water polo a few years ago they made the decision to enter the West Coast Conference
Oh,
with
okay.
USC and UCLA, and they made that decision knowing we're a pretty good water polo team, but you know what? Let's just get a shot at these guys every now and then. Let's just see what happens. So they kind of mark down those losses every year, but
Hmm.
also those are high quality losses that get put on the resume. They are also often pretty close to the top 20, whether they're in it or not every year, but they're usually really close around it. But that is a decision that they made of recent. I'm not
Yeah.
sure the date on it, but it's uh, it's it's a decision to make. You know, you could stack wins, but they made the decision to join that conference.
Yeah. Okay. So that shows my ball knowledge in water
Hey,
polo, where they are not a
hey,
Big Ten school. And the Big Ten, does it exist in water polo? Yeah.
no,
So it does not. Okay. So that
but
shows a
but
little
you
bit
know
of a
what?
flaw in my knowledge there.
That just comes from my ball knowledge, and it just shows how cool I am because
I
I
mean,
know IU water polo.
Gabe, when I first met you, the first thing you said to me was about IU water polo and how you were
Yeah,
excited for the season. So
yeah. I was like,
you
Cam,
are the
you know
resident,
water polo? You know Louisa Downs,
yeah, you are the resident water polo ball knower, and I have to bow down and respect that.
right? But
Yeah.
you know what? I think we're kind of out of college
Hmm.
Hoosiers, so why don't we go to professional Hoosiers with the Colts? The Colts have
Ooh.
franchise tagged Daniel Jones. They're going to keep him for an extra year at least. They're also going to make the move of moving along from Zaire Franklin and also moving along from Alec Pierce.
Hey, we're still
So
holding hope. We're still holding hope.
holding hope for an extension before Monday. Monday is the
Mm,
start.
yeah. No, it's rough. I can go off on how I just don't like Chris Ballard as a GM. I think he's just terrible at his job. I think he's had the job for a while. I think he's been using the excuse of Andrew Luck for a while. Me and my friends make this joke about the ghost of Andrew Luck is still haunting the Colts program because, like, it really truly is because somehow we still use it as an excuse for why Chris Ballard should stay, and I don't understand that. The other excuse that he keeps getting is that, like, his second and third round picks are starters. They're not even good players. They're just starters. And he's like, "Well, in the third round, I drafted Josh Downs. That was good value." Not really. It was fine. It's a solid pick. It's not enough for me to keep you. I I feel like
Yeah,
those are things that keep him around when, like Michael Pittman the second round. I I want Michael Pittman gone personally. I think he's a good leader. I like him as a person, but
yeah,
what does he actually bring that's like above average as a receiver? Like, what is his thing that is above average? I think he's just average at everything, and that's fine. Like,
yeah.
that's solid, but he's just average at everything. And that's okay. Alec Pierce is legit good at a lot of things. You have to resign that man. That is the guy you keep. I don't care about keeping Daniel Jones. I really don't. I liked him for the first half of the season. He was good, but I think Kyler Murray could be the same quality as him, and Kyler Murray is going to cost the team $2 million this year. Daniel Jones is going to cost us $37 million this year. It
Yeah.
it's just terrible, like, management of the team, and you have some talent in the roster, but you're also letting some of that talent walk. I think other than Sauce Gardner, Alec Pierce is the most talented player on the Colts roster in terms of, like, trade value. I think
Yeah.
Jonathan Taylor is maybe more talented as a player, but he doesn't provide as much trade value as just because of his position. Wide receiver is a more valuable position than running back. Alec Pierce, I think you could get a first round pick out of if you play your cards correctly, and they're just going to let him
Mhm.
walk. And that's a thing that's happening with the Colts right now.
Yeah, and I think you kind of it's an interesting position because of the quarterback market that's happening this year, with Tua possibly being on the move, Kyler Murray confirmed to be on the move, Geno Smith just got released. If you want to play that Geno Smith game, and goodness, Aaron Rodgers could not play for the Steelers, could play for someone else, could retire.
Yeah, so you could just play for no one.
Does he know? I don't know yet if he
Hey,
knows.
has he been to ayahuasca yet?
Yeah, I don't think he's had that trip yet, so I don't know.
So it'll be after that when he makes that decision.
Right? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Uh, there's so much available at quarterback that you it's odd to make a decision that costs
Mhm.
$30 million, but it also it it kind of feels like a repercussion of uh the trade for uh the trade for Sauce Gardner, where they gave up
Okay.
two first round picks, because you can't go into next year expecting or hoping to get the first overall pick, because you don't have it for the next 2 years, right? That's what it
Yeah.
is.
Totally.
So the next
Yeah.
two,
So you can't tank,
you can't
is what
tank
you're
next
saying.
year. So you might as
Sure.
well get
So
your
then re-sign
quarterback that
Alec
you know
Pierce.
is working. Yeah, re-sign Alec Pierce. I think that should be a goal that
Like,
they have.
if you
It,
don't want to tank, re-sign your top one of your top three players. I think that's a fair thing to do.
I also wonder where the franchise tag mark would have been for a receiver compared
Mm,
to Daniel Jones. I know the franchise tag costs different based on position,
yeah.
and sometimes, depending on the one that you use, it can vary on market value.
Sure.
Uh, I wonder where that would have been for
But
Alec Pierce, and if that led to the decision to not use it on Daniel Jones.
yeah. But
Because I think
ultimately, yeah. Ultimately, what went through the Colts GM's Chris Ballard's head is the fact that we have had a different quarterback every year since Andrew Luck, and he finally has a chance to keep the same quarterback, and so he just went with that chance. It's not smart. Do you see interest, like, elsewhere in the league for Daniel Jones? Not enough. Not
I don't know.
37 million a year interest.
No.
I thought that because the Achilles tear, we were going to get him on like a 2 for 25 million type contract, which I think would be great. I would love that deal. That's not
Yeah.
existing. 37 million for Daniel Jones. I get it's just 1 year. It's just terrible, and it's leading you to let a player walk because you can't afford him anymore. It's just poor management, and I think I'm done talking about it, but that's just poor management is what that is.
Yeah, it's kind of just a tough spot for everything going on there. But we can talk about a future pro Hoosier. Mendoza is going to be the
Mm,
number one pick at this point because they have officially released Geno Smith. They're not going to cut Geno Smith to draft somebody other than Mendoza, and it's going to be Mendoza at the one. There's so many Hoosiers coming out of the draft this year.
mhm.
There was 9 at the combine. There's probably going to be 6 drafted. 3 might go undrafted and then sign somewhere. It's an interesting it's such a great year for IU football and the pros coming out of IU football.
Yeah, and it's just really exciting also. I mean, Omar Cooper, I think, is possibly going to be a first round pick. I think Pons will probably be like a second. Surratt could be like a second or third also. Like
Mhm.
you're just going to have a lot of guys drafted up high. Really exciting. It's going to be probably the most guys drafted in IU year maybe ever. I don't know if I
Maybe.
can fully
Yeah.
say that, but it might
I
be
don't know
ever.
what that stat would be, but I would assume
It
that
feels like it should be.
right.
And I mean, maybe that'll get broken by a future IU team that Signetti produces, but it's just very exciting. I think IU fans are just forever going to root for these guys because they're a national champion. You just forever root for those guys. A lot of IU fans are going to be buying the Fernando Mendoza Raiders jersey and just enjoying him and the Raiders, even if he sucks in the Raiders. We're just going to enjoy him forever now. Like that is just a thing we will do. Is we will root for that guy forever and we'll support him. Like the rest of the league hates him, we'll still love him, and
Yeah.
that's just going to be fun for us to do.
And I've always thought that Surratt would be the better prospect for the
Hmm.
NFL than Omar, and
Sure.
I still believe that because of the size difference. So in my head, I've got I've got Surratt going before Cooper. Now I understand that Cooper has the route running slot
Yeah.
capabilities that Surratt does not, but I feel like Surratt already has the NFL size that that is so much more beneficial to receivers because I feel like receivers are just so they're not that Cooper will be the worst player in the NFL, but I feel
Hmm.
like Surratt will be the one that gets drafted first because of his size and because of his awe factor in his catches, which Cooper also has. But to me, that's just how I see it.
Sure. I I think if I was a GM, I would seriously think about drafting Surratt higher. I don't think they're going to. I think it's going to be Cooper, and I think that might be a mistake. I think Surratt's probably the more if I the way I see it is Cooper, I think has the higher ceiling as an NFL player. Um, while Surratt is like the more surefire like floor of being a good NFL player. Like I feel like Surratt's floor is Michael Pittman and his ceiling is probably Keenan Allen, but Keenan
Mm,
Allen's awesome.
yeah.
Like,
Yes.
is
This
Surratt not just going to be Keenan Allen? And if he's going to be Keenan Allen, do I not want to draft Keenan Allen? Like, that's awesome.
right. Yeah. And like it's such a the wide receiver market is so interesting because it feels like people come out of the fourth round and become wide receiver ones.
Totally, yeah.
It's so interesting to look at because of the versatility of the wide receivers. It's kind of like running backs, but running backs go even further. Like running backs go down to the seventh, and
Yeah, good running backs.
Kyle Munungai who out of Rutgers
Yeah.
just he took
Well,
off
it's
this
always a
year.
Rutgers player.
It's always a Rutgers running back, right? But it is such an interesting thing to look at, and I think that might do it for our show today. Thanks for joining us on today's show. If you like the show, press the heart on the Mic'd Up app to be notified every time we go live. And if you're joining us elsewhere, thanks for listening. Next time, you can download the Mic'd Up app and join us live every day or every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.